plant, scanner, scanner, plant. Tommy Cooper. Okay, demonstration. We're just going to go into here. I'm going to move my mouse down so that it's out of any programs. This is just triggering it off, brings this up. We can get the plant number 4 through there. It's dead, and it was 200 high or 180 high, and it's given me a little tag down here to do that. So straight away that has written it into, let's just drag down, yes, and it's just added another line through there. So if I just do an XX and we just come down to a new line, enter, and if I do that again, start, that one's there is refreshed, and we've suddenly got new data coming through there back straight away. So that was 4 barcode scans. I scanned this one here, I scanned one of these plant IDs, I scanned its condition coming through, and then I scanned its height coming through. So how do we do that? First of all, I've got a little chopstick through here to actually give the plant ID through there on that. I've got a chopstick which actually has little markings on it so that you can actually see the height of the plant, so that you can actually verify how high it is. So as long as you scan its ID, you can look at its condition, and then you can push it all the way through. So the intention was to use the barcode scanner to actually be able to start up an AutoHotKey script that would then, the initial intention was to open up something like Notepad++. Now if I have the mouse down here and I go and scan a barcode through here, the first beep 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 is just that. Nothing happens. But if I come into here where it'll accept text, as soon as I scan something, you'll see that the data is coming through. So the idea was that I needed to use to trigger an AutoHotKey script, which would need to be sitting down, active, ready to go in my tray. As soon as it got that barcode, it would open up that program. That program would do a certain thing. It would either open up Notepad++ or it would open up Excel. It would go and find a file, and then it would go, which would be of other scans that you'd already done, and then it would go down to the bottom and then start putting information through. So that was the intention. That's why it started to build. But then I came across this script here, and this is a script that's actually in here. I'll put a link through to it anyway later. But what it actually does is from the computer, it's pulling out the time and date. It's pulling out the user. So whoever you log in as, it's got your user login ID that you go through there. Now I've added another one called project name. So I can actually put a project name and I'll put an activity down here. And I did 3 hours against that. I press the button and it writes that to a file. So it's all ready to actually get. So I'm suddenly thinking, well, why do I need to go and open up Excel? Why do I need to open up Notepad++? I just put them as straight into this thing. So all I need to do is open up this script, something like this one here. Let's land onto that particular one. I write something. I tab into the next one. I write something else. I tab across to the OK button, and then I press an enter key, and that will actually feed that record through, and it's given me a little tray tip through there. So therefore I said, okay then, well, let's just throw away the intention of the process of what we're going to do. We just do it all in AutoHotKey script. So that's brilliant. We actually only have to deal with one program and actually make that work. From that program, it'll write that data to a file. And the initial file that it was doing was a text file, so I changed it to a CSV file. So the script that it sends there, it just needs to be comma delimited, so I think comma separated file, and at the very end it just needs ~r ~n, which is a carriage return. So it means you go down to the next line and then it starts as a new line at the back at the beginning again. So I then changed the text output into that sort of format there. So after doing that, I ended up with this thing where if we just look at this card photo on the left, I'd need to do is start the program, so that would trigger the program. Now I want to talk another thing with the barcode scanner. To actually program the barcode scanner, if we actually just go into a bit of a file through here, so this is actually scanned something, so we just scanned this, it's going to beep and it's going to scan more again. If I've actually scanned something, I'm just going to do it one more time. If I want to tab across, I've got to program onto the barcode scanner a thing called add tab. Now that barcode will go into the scanner, but it won't go onto the computer. Whereas all of these other ones, they get read by the scanner and then they get sent to the computer. So that was the thing. But because on the one that I started off with, once I put something in the first one, then I tabbed across there, and then I tabbed across there. Tab, if I do another tab, it just sends me to the next input field, or it just carries on cycling all the way down. So it won't actually press the button. So to do that, I actually have to reprogram with a carriage return and then send some input into it, and then it'll press the button if it's in the right correct place. So that was a bit tedious. And then another thing, when I actually started to test this program out, one of the things which I found, and it's only by actually doing it itself, was all of my plants were up on the windowsill. My PC, which was actually receiving the dongle information through the dongle from the scanner, was behind me on a desk behind me. So when I was scanning the stuff, I was looking at my plant on the window, and I was looking at how high it was on the stick. I was looking at the code number, and I was looking at the condition of the leaves and everything like that. So I wasn't looking at the computer. So I didn't know whether I was in the right thing. Now this is the thing, when you actually scan, I've actually got the scanner on silent, so it vibrates. I don't just now when I actually initially go to scan, it's not doing it. It lasts 30 seconds and then shuts itself off. So that's what I've actually got as the battery. So in a thing, it'll vibrate and then just die. So I've got to reactivate first of all, and then you scan something. So when you scan something, it vibrates, but that means it's gone to the scanner. It doesn't necessarily mean it's been sent to the PC. So if I'm looking at the plant and I've got my card and I'm trying to scan something, how do I know that it's gone to the PC? I know it's gone to the scanner because the scanner's vibrated, but then it's just vibrated there. So now it's dead. So now at this point in time, I've actually got to activate it. So it's going to make a squeaky noise. So that means it's now active. And now if I send something to that thing, it will now scan and do it. But it's totally silent. Then if I add something else has happened there. And if I do something else, it's chunking all the way through and actually doing other things and stuff like that. But the PC's behind me. So that means every time I do a plant, I've got to go around and check to see that it's actually put the data in the right place. And then I've got to press this enter key. Now, the other thing as well is this information is sitting there. So I've actually got a field maybe called project name or something like that. It's a variable in there. But I haven't populated that variable with that information until I press that OK button. Then you see it can make a sound, it can do all sorts of things and stuff like that. So that doesn't work as well. So let's just go back and see what we've actually activated. So we're going to hit the start button there, and we're going to go, it's going to wake itself up. We're going to open up. Now the first thing you heard through there was 2 beeps. So what that's doing at the very beginning, we just move this across here, is it's as soon as we triggered the program, we're making a couple of sounds. A low beep, if you just put blank, it just means that that's the default, which I think is about 530 frequency. So we've done a boop and then a slightly higher one. So that says that I've now got this pop-up. So that says I've got as far as here, and I'm always on top, and I've got that first thing. Now I'm ready for the first bit of data. So it's popped it up. So let's just do that again, and I'll just scan that one through there. It's waking up again. So it popped up and it started with the first input field. So now I can put the plant ID in there. So we're going to do onion 1. So did you hear there's another higher pitch through there for onion 1. Now I'm going to scan the condition of it. So we're going to put poor. And you hear that's an even higher pitch one. And then we're going to put a height. And that puts an even higher pitch one again. So it's saying that we've received things in those data fields. If it had come through, so now I'm just going to go back to that one again, and we'll start there. Now I'm going to scan something into here. Now I'm going to move the cursor back into the one before and scan something again. It has the same tone. Now if I go and alter any of those, it's giving the same sound level. So it's not giving the higher frequency. It will give a higher frequency if I do something in there. And it'll give an even a higher frequency when I do something in there. So you see what's happening. I'm actually using indicators where I'm actually visually looking at the plants, scanning the information off the card that I've got here is the process that I'm actually using for this as an exercise. So I'm not looking at the computer, but I want to know that what's scanned, I know I can feel the vibration such that it's gone to the scanner, but has it been sent to the PC? So am I putting good data into the computer, or am I just missing some of the data out? So at this point in time, that's what I was actually doing. So this was by actually doing this as an actual test itself, you suddenly realize that you're not looking at the computer. You suddenly realize that there's all these other things. So how can I make those things happen? So I've simplified the data by actually only using the one program, the AutoHotKeys, and using the GUI to actually grab the information that I want. And then if I just go into my extra file, it's saying update, and then there's all these extra fields of updates that I've actually done through there. When you actually test a program out, this is what you actually find. Now, when I was actually doing it before, because I was actually changing from add tab to carriage return, then I had to go do an add tab again and all of that. The other thing as well is that I could actually only input data such that it would react when I press the button. But I needed it to react straight away without pressing that button. So what I ended up doing, after looking up on one of them, is there's this G. So here's the actual variable that it's doing. So if I do the pop-up box, that's the actual pop-up box where I do the first scan. And so it's the thing one is the variable that I'm actually putting the information against. But I needed to update that variable there before I go into the second field. So to do that, there's go subroutine, and the subroutine is called submit one. And all that subroutine does is it submits what's in that input box. It doesn't hide it, so after you've actually put the data in, it doesn't hide the whole GUI. You keep it live, and then also it makes a sound beep, and then it jumps out of that subroutine and comes back into the main routine that it's doing, ready to give the things for the next box, which is most probably the condition through there. And then there's another subroutine that I'm using. I'm not using the same routine. You could use the same subroutine, but I want a different sound. And then I'm using a third routine. Now, at the moment, I'm actually only using beep. Now, an elaboration of this would be one of the things that you can actually use instead of beep is one called sound play, which will play a WAV file. Now, they've got an example down here below that actually goes into your window directory, goes to media, and there's one called ding.wav. That ding.wav don't work. So if you use something like chord.wav or some of the other WAV files in there, they work. So what you could actually do, there's two methods that you could do this. You could record something, and you could actually have a loop which actually said, if this first variable here, thing one, is baz1, or the last character is 1, or no, you wouldn't because you'd actually want baz1, then you could play a sound called a WAV file called baz1. Or you could play so you could actually get it to speak what you were actually inputting. So as long as the volume on the computer was good enough, you could actually pick up that information straight away. So there's further elaborations of what you can actually do. So I only wanted to take it so far. I actually just wanted to be able to do something, go through, scan some stuff. And the other thing that I was doing with the scanner, this is on a Wi-Fi. Now on this particular one, which is a Surface Book, I can only get about 2 meters away, and any further 2 meters away, and the scanner doesn't read to the dongle. In the kitchen, I've got an old Surface 3 with a dock, and it gets to about 3 meters away, so I can get all the ones in the kitchen. So all of these particular plants, I've got some beans, I've got some onions, and I've got 4 basil plants. I've got one split. I've got all of those, so they're accessible and I can do them straight away. And I just use the sound to actually identify the fact that I put that data in. So from the initial idea and the scanner and doing it and then processing it, the next one down is to do this. This is too remote. So 2 things you could do at this point in time is that you could actually take the tablet itself, put the dongle onto the tablet so that you actually take the tablet close by. You don't need to look at it, you just need it in close proximity to be able to go through a very big greenhouse to actually scan a whole lot of plants. The other things that you could do is that you could actually store all of the information in the scanner. I think you can actually store up to 5,000 scans in there, and then you just bring them back. So you actually just have it handheld. You're not doing a Wi-Fi, you're just collecting them all on here, and then you run a script to do this. Now this one here as well, a further iteration of this sort of thing. So 2 things I want to talk about. One, to actually get this one, I've got a Dymo label maker that will create a QR code. These are 1/2 inch, so they're 12 millimeters high, so the actual QR code is only 10 millimeters high, and it reads reasonably well. Now with the distance in between, I actually have no problem in making sure I'm actually, blast, it's actually written something in there then again, so I heard that chef, so control Z, see, it's actually writing data into there, so you've got to watch out with that. So this is why I actually got to make sure I've got the program up here just so that you can actually see what the code looks like, and it's not particularly long code, but there's 92 rows of it, so not much, and there's a little bit of annotation and stuff. So it's putting it into a separate file. So the next part, so I've got a 10 millimeter high QR code there, so less than 1/2 inch, and they accurately work through here. I've got them reasonably spaced. I was a bit cautious with this. I'd redo this board, or in fact you could have multiple boards and you could actually have so much more data fields as well. So depending on what you were actually doing. So at this point in time, I actually just read one barcode to actually activate the program, and then I go 1, 2, 3, and I get 3 bits of data, as well as in here, I also get the username of the person who's actually scanning at that thing, and I also get the date, and I get the time when it's actually done as well. So you could do things like, did you give it any fertilizer, and that could be a yes, no. Then you could give a type, and if it's a no, then you just put a blank or something like that, or you just hop through and tap through and something. So there's a whole lot of other things. So this was just doing it on a basically, I just needed a few variables to bang in there to do. That's what you can actually do with this thing here. So I'll leave the code, I'll leave the other stuff. Now my intentions with this was just really a little pet project because my daughter with plants would be using a scanner to do that. The idea with the process is that you can then move it on to use it for an asset management things of going through and doing an inspection thing on properties. So that's most probably another thing that I'm doing. But where I was thinking of the AutoHotKeys as just being a little intermediate program to open up something else so that I could start doing the input, it ended up being a holistic standalone program that does all that I actually need it to do. And so I just have the scanner, I just have AutoHot scripts, and it saves everything to a file formatted as I want. The next part of this was that you gathered a whole load of data, you'd need to do some analytics on it. So if it's a CSV file, one of the things with a CSV file is it's just a single tab on a sheet. So you'd actually have to bring it into Google Sheets or into Excel as into a new tab. If there was data on a tab that you tried importing into, it just overwrite what was there. So you'd have to bring it into a new tab and then move that information or copy and paste it to a pen row at the bottom of wherever your data was that you were actually analysing if you're doing charts and things like that. So you'd need to write a VBA script to do that. so that it consistently doing, you just go run the VBA script and just say pick up that file and go and append it to what I've got, and then it'll blow that other tab away after you'd actually imported it into a new tab and copied it across where you want. In Google Sheets, you'd actually end up having to do a gas JavaScript thing to do that. And the other thing with that is that if you were doing with the Google Script one, which I quite like, is that you would actually have the file in a specific place and it would do that. Now, if that file wasn't there, under this script, it creates it if it's not there. But it's got to have those directories. So if you actually want to make sure, you want to put it in C drive or you want to put it on desktop or something, not in a user downloads or something like that, because that might not be on somebody else's computer or somebody else's tablet. The other thing with this, AutoHotKeys is Windows based. So therefore this works on a Windows computer or a Windows tablet, but it won't work on an Android one, because this is actually running from a Windows point of view. You'd need to use something like Automate, which is an Android app that does this sort of process. I'm not too sure how sophisticated it is, because the other thing that you could actually do is that you could pair the scanner with a phone, and so that it gathers the data. And so you just have so that would be paired by Bluetooth, and you just have that in your pocket, and you just go around, inspect your stuff, and you'd just be knowing that it'd be being dropped into a file in there. But this is a proof of concept using all the hotkeys, and the one that I've got because I've got the Surface series. All of the Surface series can work as a tablet on their own. So therefore I can actually just bang the dongle in there and take the tablet around. And as long as the tablet's close by, you don't actually have to look at it. And as long as the screen's actually live, it'll actually take in all the data that you actually want. So I hope that's been of interest. If you found it useful, please give a thumbs up. If not, I'll pan your heart. Thank you very much for watching.